I knew my dad hated me, but I never really grasped the depths of his hatred until just recently. Sperm donor, jerk, bastard. That's what I called him because as far as I was concerned, he was no longer my father. He was just the man who impregnated my mother. So who am I? My name is John Sinclair, and my nemesis is none other than Milton Sinclair, a powerful and intimidating hulk of a man no one dared question. My mother called him her husband, and to most outside our family he was supposedly my father. All my life he put me down and belittled me to anyone within earshot, often with a smirk on his face. Not a day went by without a dig or an insult. He reveled in telling anyone and everyone that I was nothing, a weakling destined to be a no-good loser. It wasn't just his words, it was his actions. He took great delight in breaking any toy I received as a birthday or Christmas gift, often doing it right in front of me with a sick, twisted grin on his face. The worst thing was what he did to a puppy my uncle had given me when I was just 6 years old. After bashing the poor creature's head in, he took an axe and decapitated the little dog, right in front of me. I still have nightmares about that. Making matters worse, my mother did nothing to stop him. She was too scared to stand up to the bastard and let him beat and abuse me whenever it suited him. To her credit, though, she shielded me as much as she could and spent many nights cradling and rocking me as I cried myself to sleep. I envied all the other boys. Why couldn't I have a father who loved me, played ball with me, or took me out fishing and hunting? Once, when I was old enough to understand, she tearfully told me that he demanded she abort me. She refused and paid dearly for her disobedience. Despite his ongoing abuse, she carried me to term and gave birth. He responded by bringing women home to their marital bed and banished my mother and me to a guest suite as he spent his days and nights in the arms of other women. He got away with all this because he was very rich and well thought out by the community. He gave great sums of money to causes like Planned Parenthood and propped up crooked rich politicians who often turned a blind eye to his antics and eccentricities. I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but I decided that one day I would make the bastard pay. I'll never forget the day I first outed him as an abuser. My teacher asked each of the children in our class to stand and tell everyone else what their fathers do for a living. One child said his father was an engineer, and another said her father was a policeman. I honestly didn't know what my father did for a living, so when it came to my turn, I simply told the class, much to my teacher's horror, that my father beats me. That night, we received a visit from Child Protective Services. The bastard put on a good front and waited until everyone had left before he addressed me with his fists. By the time he was done, I had 2 black eyes, a bloody nose, and a concussion. Believe it or not, the authorities believed him when he said I slipped in the shower. My mother nursed me back to health and enrolled me in a martial arts class. The male instructor I had listened to and patiently taught me how to defend myself. More importantly, he gave me a sense of self-worth and made me realize that the bastard did what he did because of his own inadequacies, not mine. Oddly enough, he quit beating me the day I broke a cinder block at one of our demonstrations. But the verbal and emotional abuse continued. I left home as soon as I could and joined the Marine Corps. I was determined to show the jerk I was no weakling. His response, laughter and derision. "You'll come crawling back to me, you just wait," he declared. I not only graduated from recruit training, but I also graduated at the top of my platoon. I went on to become a Force Reconnaissance Marine and worked myself as hard as I could. I was determined that no one would ever beat me again. After 2 grueling tours in the Middle East, I came home and met and married Judy. I thought my life had truly changed for the better. I deliberately kept my parents in the dark about my marriage. I had sent my mother Christmas cards after I left, but nothing else, and I said nothing about my personal life. Judy and her parents understood after I explained my childhood to them. "But he's your father," Judy said. "No, he's not. He's the guy who got my mother pregnant, but that's it. I don't want that bastard within 100 miles of me, and I sure as hell don't want him to know we're married." I ended up getting sent back overseas for another 1-year combat tour. Judy tearfully promised to wait for me, and we decided to start our family when I got back. But things went off the rails, thanks to the jerk. When I got back, Judy's parents met me and drove me to their home. "John," Judy's father said, "I hate to tell you this, but your father tracked you down not long after you left. He came by the house with a couple of his goons and said he was going to take Judy to live with him while you were overseas." "That bastard. What else did he say?" I asked. "He specifically told us that he was going to make a humiliation of you and that Judy would be happy to do it," Judy's mother said. I couldn't believe it, but she later told me that's exactly what she wanted to do because your father said you needed him to do it. And he said he would do to both of you what he did to your dog if anyone tried to stop him. You may not have known it, but he just communicated a threat to murder your daughter, I said, telling them what he did to my puppy. "I'll kill the bastard," I said. "So help me, I'll kill him, and she's toast if she went along with it." "Please, John," her father said. "Divorce her if you must, kick her to the curb, but please don't physically hurt her. If what you're telling me is true, then I'll do everything I can to help. Judy may be an idiot, but she's my daughter, and I don't want any harm to come to her." "All right, I promise I won't hurt her unless she forces me to. But she may become collateral damage. If she's taken up with him, there's no telling what he'll get her to do," I said. They weren't happy, but they seemed to understand. "Now please take me home. I have things to do." Judy's parents drove me home and came in the house with me, just in case she was there. The house was dark, and I heard nothing to indicate anyone else was in the house. A quick sweep of the house indicated we were alone. I thanked them for the ride and promised to stay in touch. They left, but not before reminding me of my promise not physically to hurt their daughter. I set all the locks on the front door and checked all the other doors and windows to make sure they were secured. I didn't want to be surprised in the middle of the night, so I braced chairs under the door handles so they couldn't be easily opened. I set traps on the doors as well so I would know the second anyone tried to open them. Fortunately, Judy didn't know about my gun safe, hidden in the back of a closet in my study. I knew the bastard wouldn't bother to look out of his own arrogance and condescension. I decided to use those traits to my advantage. I checked my inventory and found that everything was just as I left it a year ago. I secured the safe and checked to see if Judy left anything to indicate where she was or what she was doing. Quite a bit of her wardrobe was missing, along with her jewelry and her toiletries. Her lingerie was gone, as was most of her undergarments and shoes, indicating she had apparently moved out. She did leave a DVD on our dresser with a note in her flashy cursive handwriting that simply read, "Watch me." I had a pretty good idea what it was, but decided to check it out anyway. The video opened with Judy's smiling face. "Hi, honey," she said in the video. "Listen, I know this is going to be a bit of a shock to you, but I've decided to stay with your father. I know you really don't think much of him, but he's assured me that I'll be well taken care of and you have nothing to worry about. I don't know when I'll be back, but he tells me I'll be a much better wife to you after he's taught me a few things. He's already shown me so much. Yeah, I've been with him, but believe me, it's only intimacy, and I only love you, okay? Nothing personal, but he is here, and you are, well, overseas somewhere. I know you're over there protecting us from terrorists and all, but I miss you, and I'm really excited, you know? Sorry. Talk to you later, okay? Gotta go. Bye now, bye." The next face to appear was his, the jerk. His leering mug took up most of the screen, and I couldn't see what Judy was doing. "Thought you could hide from the old man, didn't you, boy? Thought you could just marry some girl and I'd never find you? Thought you were free of me, I'll bet. Wrong. I've taken your wife, and yeah, I've been having her brains out for the last few months. So have quite a few of my guys. God, what a screamer. Anyway," he continued, "she's going on a little trip with me to visit some of my special overseas customers. Don't worry, she'll be safe as long as she's a good girl. Now, I know you're supposedly some kind of a bad Marine and all, but I promise you, if you decide to play hero, I'll do to her what I did to that stupid little dog you had as a boy. Remember that? I really enjoyed seeing the pain and horror on your face as I cut its stupid head off. And don't think I won't do it to your wife. Hell, I may just do it anyway right after I have been with her in front of you. Check her out, he said, turning so I could see Judy, who was on our bed with two very large and well-endowed black men, no doubt part of the bastard's security detail. The jerk turned back to the camera. Oh, this is nothing. I've got more videos of her. You should be getting those videos in the mail any day now. I'd say she's pretty much ruined for you, he said, laughing. Oh, and just in case you decide to remarry after you divorce this cheating woman, well, let's just say I'll be back. The whole thing sickened me, but I had to remain calm and collected. Crying or screaming wouldn't bring her back, and it wouldn't take away the pain I was feeling at her betrayal. I had loved the cheating woman exclusively for 5 years, and we were on the verge of starting our family. So much for that. It was clear to me that my wife was now his cheating woman, so divorce was a foregone conclusion. And I would make the jerk pay. But first, I needed 2 things, and I needed them right now. First, I needed intel. Where was he going? How and when? He could have left a month ago or just this morning for all I knew. Second, I needed backup, and I knew exactly who to call. I went back to my study and found the 2 unused burner phones in my safe. They were more than a year old but would do the job. I activated the first and called my mother's personal cell. I had the number from a card she sent me while I was overseas. Obviously, the jerk didn't know she had it or he would have taken it from her. Surprisingly, she answered on the first ring. Hello, she answered quietly. Mom, it's John, I said. She immediately began crying. John, is it really you? I've missed you so much. Yes, Mom. Look, this isn't just a social call. The bastard has taken my wife and I need to find them. What do you know? I'm sorry, John. He's taking Judy overseas someplace, I don't know where. So they haven't left yet? I asked. I think they're leaving tomorrow. He's loading up his cargo ship tonight and they're set to leave tomorrow afternoon, I think, she said. Tell me everything, Mom. I need to know. Who is he doing business with? Where is he going? What's the name of the ship? Well, I don't know exactly who it is, but I know he's been meeting with some men from the Middle East. They all had Arab-sounding names like Abdullah or something, and I overheard them saying something about a sheikh. I don't know what that's all about, she answered. It's not a sheikh like a milkshake, Mom. They were talking about a sheikh, an important man of some kind. Do you know the name of the ship? I asked. I think it's the Northern Express. At least that's what I heard him say, she said. I was familiar with that ship. It wasn't a cargo ship, more like an oversized ocean-going yacht with a larger-than-normal hold. The jerk had a special suite on it and had it equipped with a helipad. I spent more than one trip in the bowels of the damn thing and knew it quite well. I even had architectural drawings showing the layout of the vessel. Those would come in handy. What's going on with Judy, Mom? Has he had her there at the house? I asked. Yes. He's been having intimacy with her in our bed, and he introduced her to those men. I can't believe he'd take your wife like that. John, I'm so sorry. I had to wonder why he would introduce her to them, and then it hit me. He intended to either sell her to them or give her to this sheikh. Why are you putting up with this stuff, Mom? I asked. She sobbed. Because John, he controls everything. My money, even my access to food and water. I have no choice. I'm basically a prisoner in his personal dungeon, she replied. Mom, how has his business been lately? Has he said anything to you about it? I asked. A time or two, he's mentioned that things were a bit difficult, but he had something going on that would set him up. At least that's what he said. Why? Mom, I hate to say this, but I'm beginning to think he's engaged in something highly illegal. Don't say anything to him, and for God's sake, don't tell him I spoke with you. Got it? Sure, honey. I won't say anything. What are you going to do? She asked. I've got no choice but to divorce Judy. I've got other plans for him. Are you going to kill him, John? She asked. He's given me no other option, Mom. I'm sorry. I know you're married to him, but this has to end. Just do me 2 favors, John, she asked. Sure, Mom. What? Make sure the jerk suffers before he dies and then come back home to me. I want to see a video of him suffering. Promise me, she said with an edge in her voice I had never heard before. You got it, Mom. I'll be in touch, okay? If you learn anything, you call or text me on this number. Got it? I will, John. Be careful. I love you, son. I love you too, Mom, I said, my voice shaking. I hadn't said those words to her for years. I broke out the second burner phone in my stash, activated it, and called 2 good friends I knew would help me out. Yeah, who is this? Said a gruff voice on the other end. Mike, this is John. I need your help. You up for it? I asked. Mike Williams was a former Marine who now did freelance work for the highest bidder. He and I spent a lot of time eating the same dirt in Afghanistan and other places, and I couldn't think of a better man for this operation. John, you sly bastard. Do you need my help? Must be something serious. You know I owe you one, so of course. What's up? He asked. I briefed him on the situation as quickly as I could. He listened and said nothing until I was finished. You know who we need for this? Mike asked. George McGregor? You know him? Name doesn't ring a bell, I said. I'm not surprised. I've worked with him several times after I got out. He's a good man and can also handle a chopper. Sounds like you may need a pilot to get off that boat. Plus, he has contacts in places you and I can't talk about. I don't think he's doing anything at the moment, so I'll call him and have him reach out to you. By the way, he doesn't work for free. You okay with that? I hope he doesn't value his service too much, but yeah, I'm okay with that. Have him call me, but remember, time is of the essence here. That ship sails out tomorrow afternoon at the latest, I said. Got it. I'll text you as soon as I talk to him. I got a text from Mike about 30 minutes later telling me to expect a call. Seconds later, my phone rang. John Sinclair? Asked a man with a slight accent. Australian? British? I wasn't certain, but I figured it had to be George. Speaking. Is this George McGregor? One and the same, mate. A mutual friend tells me you need a bit of help. Yes, I do, I said. Well, let's meet and see what we can do for each other. Don't tell me anything over the phone, I'll wait. Very well. Meet me at my house. I'll explain everything. All right. Text me your address and I'll be there in about a half hour. Make sure you have a cold one ready for me, okay? I like this guy already. You got it. I'll see you in a half hour. We hung up and I texted him my address. I also sent Mike a text. My place, 30 minutes. A half hour later, a Ford F-150 pickup pulled into my driveway, and a large man I assumed was George ambled to my front door. I opened it before he had a chance to knock and handed him a cold Foster's. He smiled, took my beer, and shook my hand. Mike pulled in a minute later. I waved him inside, shook his hand, and handed him a cold beer which he readily accepted. John Sinclair, I presume? George asked with a grin. I've always wanted to say that. And you must be George McGregor. I briefed them on the entire situation, including my relationship with the jerk. I even showed them the video. So what do you plan to do? George asked. Simply put, the jerk dies. The more painful, the better. I'm divorcing the cheating woman. I promised her father I wouldn't deliberately hurt her, but she could become collateral damage. I'd rather avoid that if possible. Milton Sinclair's your old man, right? George asked. Yeah. Let me make a couple of calls. I'll be right back, he answered. Mike and I caught each other up while we waited for George to come back. A few minutes later, George returned to the living room and sat down. I thought I recognized the name, so I made a couple of inquiries. You understand I can't reveal my sources, right? Copy that, I said. Mike nodded in agreement. It seems that old man Sinclair, your sperm donor, has caught the interest of several alphabet agencies concerned about his so-called business dealings with certain Middle Eastern entities, specifically with one Sheikh Abdullah, Abdullah, by the way, is known to have dealings with a number of terrorist organizations and is believed to be in the business of providing arms to groups. He's also thought to be involved in human trafficking, specializing in beautiful white Western women. Like your wife, George said. Why hasn't anything been done to stop him? I asked. Good question. It seems the jerk has made a number of very strategic and substantial contributions to very high-ranking political figures. People you'd recognize in a heartbeat if you heard their names. So he's protected at the highest levels, Mike said. Very much so. And if he were to be exposed and/or brought down, a lot of other important men would be very embarrassed, to say the least. That means, in addition to being a child-abusing, wife-stealing jerk, he's also a traitor, I said. It also means it's not enough to simply kill him. He needs to be destroyed, completely and publicly. I tend to agree, George said. Others do as well. But no one is in any position to do anything at the moment. That's not to say nothing's being done, however. You were right about the Northern Express leaving tomorrow, George said, looking at me. There's 3 undercover operatives on that boat right now. They're scheduled to weigh anchor at 1800 hours tomorrow, and they're set to arrive at King Abdul Aziz Port in Daman. We can only assume Abdullah will meet them there. According to the manifests, they're carrying dry goods, coffee, that sort of thing. The operatives, however, say they're actually carrying weapons, AKs, RPGs, you name it. There are also rumors that Sinclair has sold Abdullah an ADM. Are you familiar with those? George asked. Mike and I both shook our heads. In modern parlance, they're sometimes referred to as backpack nukes or nuclear landmines. For 25 years, they were carried by your special forces, designated the B-54 SADM. In theory, the military quit stockpiling them years ago, but we've heard that some companies, like Sinclair's, have started surreptitiously producing them again, on a very small scale, of course. These weapons are what were once classified as tactical nukes with a very small yield, perhaps half a kiloton. By comparison, the bomb dropped on Hiroshima was about 15 kilotons. Don't let the low yield fool you, though. A .5 kiloton bomb detonated on the surface would produce a fireball roughly 197 feet in radius. Everything within that 197 feet would be instantly vaporized. Thermal radiation would extend to just over 1,300 feet, or about a quarter of a mile. It would do great damage no matter where it's detonated. If used in a city like New York, it would kill and injure many thousands and wreak untold damage to the economy. But how would Sinclair get the nuclear material? Mike asked. Good question. Stuff like that wasn't exactly sold on eBay. It wouldn't be easy, George said, but with his connections he could probably arrange it. Bottom line, if Sinclair did sell something like this to Abdullah, he needs to be stopped. Understand? Mike and I nodded in agreement. This was suddenly about much more than my wayward, cheating wife. I take it we'll have no official backup? I asked. None whatsoever, thanks to old man Sinclair's connections. But trust me when I tell you that the entire intel community will be very happy to see Sinclair dealt with. Permanently. Can your guys get us and our gear on board undetected? I asked. Yes, it's being set up right now, George said. Good. Well, let's get to it, I said, rolling out a diagram of the ship's interior. We spent the next hour discussing the layout of the boat and formulating a tactical plan. Eventually, we agreed on something we all agreed could work. So basically, we're going to get in, hide out for a couple of hours until the boat's in international waters, kill the old man, grab the soon-to-be ex-wife, sink the boat, and fly home. Is that right? George asked. Pretty much, I said. Trust me, the jerk is so cocky he'll have less than a skeleton crew and they won't be expecting us. It's not that big a boat and can run with a very small crew. We'll be able to take care of them in no time, and hopefully your undercover guys will help us out. That's pretty daring if I do say so myself, George said. What's that old SAS motto, who dares wins? I asked. George smiled. Indeed, I admire your pluck, John, but it takes a lot more than that to be SAS. Trust me, George said. I hear you can fly a chopper, George, I said. Can you handle an Airbus H-225? That's what the bastard has on the ship these days. He looked at me with a cocky grin. There's not a chopper made I can't fly, he said. Good, I said. I faced George directly. I understand you don't work for free. He looked at me and nodded his head. Normally I don't. Truth is, I hate child abusers and cheaters with a passion. I hate traitors and human traffickers even more so. And don't get me started on people who abuse animals. The fact is, I'm already on contract to deal with Sinclair. I'm not at liberty to say with who. So, buy me a cold one and we'll call it even, he said, extending his hand. I took it, and we exchanged a hearty handshake. Thanks. We'll need some firepower. I got up and motioned George and John to follow me to my study. I opened the gun safe and let them look around. We'll need to go with what we can conceal, so I doubt the rifles will do us any good. But there's a good selection of handguns and plenty of ammunition. Take your pick, gentlemen, I said. Mike and George looked through my collection, and each picked 2 handguns and several magazines fully loaded with hollow-point bullets. I reached down, grabbed a roll of slow-burning cannon fuse, and got 2 oversized M80s. What's that for? Mike asked. I'm going to light the old man's fire up, Mike. Get that roll of primer cord and some blasting caps as well. We'll need that to sink the old tub. We grabbed our gear and packed up. It was getting late, so I decided to grab some sleep. I showed Mike and George around the house, and we settled down for the evening. Tomorrow was going to be a very busy day. I was exhausted but couldn't get my mind off Judy. How could she have fallen for that son of a blip? Why did she have to screw up our lives? About 3 a.m., George's phone rang, waking us all up. George went into another room to take the call, and that's when Mike noticed a square envelope on the floor by the door. It looked like someone slipped it through the mail slot. He picked it up and handed it to me. I couldn't help but wonder when it was delivered, so I checked the security camera footage on my computer. According to the video, a sedan pulled up in front of the house with a single occupant. A man wearing a dark suit got out of the car, came up to the door, and slipped the envelope through the slot. He looked around, noticed the 2 extra vehicles, got back in his sedan, and drove off. George was back by the time we returned to the front room. That was Juan Carlos. Not his real name, of course. He says he can get us safely on board with our gear if we meet him at 16 hours tomorrow. On the dot. He also tells me the other undercover operatives will help us. There's a total of 12 people on the boat right now, mostly orderlies and passengers. The old man has 3 security guards outside his stateroom. Your wife is there along with some Middle Easterners. One of them is probably Abdullah himself. He tells me there was some kind of celebration that took place earlier. Maybe that's what's on that DVD you're holding. Well, let's check it out, I said. Opening the envelope, I retrieved the DVD and discovered Judy's rings, coated with a dried substance. I popped the DVD into the player and hit the remote. Just so you know, John, she said, I won't be coming home. I divorce you. I divorce you. I divorce you. I'm now the property of Sheikh Abdullah. I belong to him, body, mind, and soul. His cause is my cause, and my body is now his to command. I had hoped you would have been here to witness the ceremony. It was beautiful, and I would have loved it if you could have been here to personally hand me over to my new husband. It would have meant so much to me if you had been here to witness him taking me in person. But as always, you're too busy for the things important to me. Please understand, John, and don't be sad. You're a good man, and I'll always remember you fondly, but I just don't love you that way anymore. Maybe one day you'll find another woman, and tell my parents they won't be allowed to see me anymore. No hard feelings, Mr. Sinclair. I appreciate beautiful women, so I promise I'll treat your ex-wife well. She is such a talented woman, and her body is so delightful. I, too, would have liked for you to be here to personally hand her to me. But your father filled in, and for that, I am eternally grateful. Perhaps someday I can return the favor. Maybe I'll let you come and visit us after she's had a few of my sons, he said. The jerk's face suddenly showed in the video. Just so you know, this was all sanctioned by the State Department, so I hope you won't try something stupid. And I meant it when I said I'll come after any other women you get involved with. There's quite a market for pretty Western girls in the Middle East, you know. Enjoy spending the evening with your Marine buddies. See ya, he said, laughing. The video went dark. We sat there in the room, saying nothing for several minutes. The video pretty much said it all, as did the rings now in the ashtray. My wife was completely gone, and there was no hope of getting her back. The rescue part of our plan was over. It was all about retribution now. "I'm sorry," George finally said, placing a hand on my shoulder. "That's so messed up," Mike said. "I'm sorry, bro, you don't deserve that." "Thanks, guys. I guess you all know what this means," I said. They both nodded their heads in agreement. "No quarter, no mercy, they all die. Am I right?" George asked. I nodded my head. "Yeah, she's chosen sides and she chose poorly," I replied. "What about the State Department? Can they actually allow something like that?" Mike said. "I've heard of some pretty strange things coming out of Foggy Bottom over the years, so nothing would surprise me," George said. I grabbed my phone and sent them the last video by email. It was very late, but I had to inform Judy's parents. I owed it to them. "Yeah? Hello?" said a groggy man after several rings. "Fred, this is John. Sorry to call you so late, but I need to talk to both of you right now. It's about Judy," I said. "What's going on with Judy? Is she home? Has she come to her senses?" "No, it's worse than I thought. I can't get into all the details, not over the phone. I need you to check your email. I sent you a video and I want both of you to watch it. It's pretty disturbing, but you deserve to know what's going on." "Okay, let me fire up my computer," he said. A couple minutes later, I heard audio from his computer, and both of them gasped in horror at what they were witnessing. Then I heard Judy's mother break down sobbing. Fred came back on the phone. "John, I'm horrified. I'm so sorry, son. I didn't know this was going on. Who is this Abdullah guy anyway?" he asked. "He's a very bad man, Fred. He supports and supplies groups that are heavily involved in human trafficking, specifically slavery," I said. "Is there any hope for Judy?" Fred asked. "No, Fred, there's not. Judy has deliberately sided with a sworn enemy of the United States. That makes her an enemy combatant. A traitor, Fred. Think about that. Even if we were to bring her home alive, there's no telling what she'd do behind your back. She could easily kill you while you're asleep, thinking she's doing God's will or something. I'm telling you this, Fred, because I respect you, and I think of you as the father I never had. You deserve to know that your daughter will probably not come back alive. And if she does, she'll spend the rest of her life in prison, and if tried as a traitor, could be executed," I said. "She's our only child," Fred said, sobbing. "Please, John, I'm begging you, try to bring her home alive." "I'll try, Fred, but no guarantees. She may give me no choice." "Okay, son, I understand. Please forgive us, John," he said. "None of this is your fault, Fred. I'll be in touch. Sorry to spring this on you, but I thought you deserved to know. Bye," I said, hanging up the phone. I had had enough drama for one 24-hour period, so I decided to get some sleep before our departure. Mike and George agreed, but we decided that one of us would stay on watch until we were all up and about. A few hours later, we were up, drinking coffee and going over our final plans. Today was the day that Milton Sinclair's reign of terror would end. We gathered our gear and headed to the dock to meet Juan Carlos. We met Juan, and he got us on board as promised. I handed him a roll of primer cord and a handful of blasting caps. "You know how to use this?" I asked. He smiled. "You're kidding, right? Of course I do, and I know exactly where to deploy it. By the way, Old Man Sinclair has a functioning suitcase nuke on board. Were you aware of that?" "We suspected it," I said. "I know exactly where it is. Once the stateroom is secured, I'll bring it up to you. Don't worry about the crew outside the bridge. My guys and I will take care of them. By the way, do any of you fly?" "Yeah, and yes, we'll give you a ride home. We move 1 hour after leaving port, so be ready." He nodded. "Got it, Mr. Sinclair. Please call me John. Mr. Sinclair is the jerk upstairs, I said. Juan smiled. Got it, boss, he replied. We hid in our designated areas and waited for the boat to get underway. Soon we could feel the yacht making its way out of the port and kept an eye on the time. I knew the jerk would want to get the boat going as fast as possible, and I could feel the acceleration. Soon, the hour was up, and I eased the door to the locker I was in and looked around. No one was in sight, so I began making my way topside and was soon joined by Mike and George. We passed the bodies of a couple crew members and knew Juan was already doing his job. We only hoped the crewmen we saw weren't the other undercover operatives. Mike headed to the bridge as George and I headed for the stateroom. There were 2 guards stationed outside the hatch to the onboard apartment. George took one down with a quick snap of the neck, and I followed suit with the other. Neither made a sound as their lifeless bodies sunk to the deck. We felt the boat slow down and realized Mike had neutralized the bridge crew and shut down the engines. That was our cue. We burst into the stateroom, taking out 2 more guards. Abdullah jumped behind 2 of his men who pulled their firearms. Unfortunately for them, they were too slow and ended up in lifeless heaps on the floor, followed by Abdullah, who begged for his life before getting 2 bullets in the brain. George covered the jerk as I cleared the rest of the stateroom. Judy was screaming throughout the entire episode and grabbed a gun when she realized her new lover was dead. Shaking, she aimed it at me. "Drop it, John, or so help me, I'll kill you," she said shakily. Of course, she didn't know I was wearing a GoPro camera and caught her entire threat on video. I looked at her gun and realized the safety was still on. Judy, of course, had never touched a handgun in her life. "If you're going to shoot me, Judy, you'd better take the safety off," I said sarcastically. She glanced at the gun. "I don't know how," she stammered. "Well then, I guess you shouldn't be holding it," I said, taking a shot at her arm. The bullet creased her left arm and buried itself in the wall, just as I had hoped. Judy responded by yelping in shock and dropping the gun. "You shot me! I can't believe you shot me! You could have killed me!" George laughed. "Trust me, Missy, if he wanted you dead, you'd be dead, and there's not a damn thing you or anyone else could do about it," he said. Judy's eyes grew wide in shock. "Yeah, well, I can't believe you did what you did either, so I guess that makes us even," I said. I grabbed her arm and threw her in a chair next to the jerk, who, as it turned out, was naked from the waist down. "Well, I was wondering when you'd finally show up," the jerk said. I punched him in the face to get his attention. The move shocked him and he shut up. "Shut the hell up, jerk," I said. "So tell me, wife, did you mean all that crap about belonging to Abdullah and his cause being your cause?" I asked. She looked down at the floor. "Look at me, damn it!" I yelled. Her head snapped up. "Yes," she said defiantly. "He told me about how you and your Marines abused children in Iraq and how he and his freedom fighters were going to kick you out and make you pay." "And you believe that crap? Is that why you decided to become a cheating woman for this jerk?" I asked, pointing at the old man. "Not at first, but eventually, yes," she said. "So if I take you home alive, would you try to kill your parents?" I asked. Her face changed as she took on a demonic look. "Yes," she said. "You're all infidels and deserve to die, and I'll do anything to avenge Abdullah's death, even kill you, or my parents." I shook my head. "Well then, Judy, I guess you just decided your fate. George, tie this woman up, please," I said. "Gladly," he said as I turned to the jerk. "I want answers, old man. I want them now. And don't mess with me," I said. "You think I'm going to tell you anything?" he answered. "Don't be coy, old man. You want to gloat. I know you do. You want nothing more than to tell me everything you know, just to see my reaction. Just like you did when I was a kid. So spit it out, old man. Who's your contact at the State Department? Who gave you permission to hand Judy over to Abdullah? How long have you been supplying arms to our enemies in the Middle East?" "Spit it out," I said. "Okay, I'll tell you. James Whitmore is my State Department liaison. He's the one who signed off on all of this. And just so you know, I've been selling arms to Abdullah for the last 2 years, he said. Why? You know that's treason, I asked. Why have I done anything since you were born? To mess with you. I was secretly hoping one of those guns I sold would be the one that put a bullet in your brain, he said. And that's why you abused Mom and I all those years? Why you killed my pet dog? Just to mess with me? I asked. From the moment your mother was pregnant with you, she doted on you. Took care of herself so you'd be healthy. After you were born, she coddled you and breastfed you. Hell, since you were born, I never got to even touch her breasts, he said. So you abused me because Mom was a good mother? You're a sick, twisted jerk, you know that? What's more, I found that I really got off abusing the two of you. I damn near had an orgasm killing your puppy, did you know that? So as you got older, I had to get more creative, find other ways to stick it to you. I knew I could never take you in a fight, so I went behind your back, worked on Judy, got her hooked, first on drugs, then on myself. Then I introduced her to Abdullah. At first he was just going to farm her out to his buds and his groups, but after getting a taste of her body, he decided to keep her for himself and started feeding her a bunch of nonsense. Naturally, the dumb woman swallowed it hook, line, and sinker, he said. Judy's eyes widened at the jerk's confession. You mean all that was a lie to get me to hurt John? She asked. Of course, you stupid cow. You really didn't think I actually wanted you, did you? Now, Abdullah, that's a different story. He really did fall for you. Oh my God, what have I done? John, can you forgive me? She asked. No. Remember all those things you just said? Remember holding a gun on me? I can't forgive that. No, Judy, we're finished. We're through. I turned back to the jerk. Mom asked me to do her a favor, I said. What's that? He asked. She said to make sure you suffer before you die, and that's exactly what I'm going to do, I said. His eyes grew wide. I had never spoken to him like that before, and the gravity of the situation was slowly beginning to dawn on him. I secured his arms to his chair using duct tape and pulled on a pair of latex gloves. Then I grabbed the roll of slow-burning cannon fuse and began wrapping it around his left leg, just above his knee, leaving about a 1/4 inch between wraps. I had just enough to reach his scrotum, which was perfect for my needs. I grabbed the enhanced M80s and made sure he could see them. I connected the fuse to the 2 explosive devices, then placed one on each side of his scrotum, one behind his balls, and the other between his balls and his penis. He and Judy both looked at me in horror. What are you doing, John? Please, son, we can get through this. Oh, so it's son now, is it? Where was all this fatherly love when you decapitated my dog? Or when you had your bimbos in your marriage bed? Or when you beat my mother and I, putting me in the hospital with a concussion? Or when you stole my wife? Or when you arranged to hand her over to a sworn enemy of the United States? John, please, where did you get the idea to do something like this? He asked. Remember that book you had me read when I was a kid? I don't remember what it was called, but it was about a Waffen SS officer who joined the Foreign Legion and ended up in French Indochina. 2 of the main characters in that book did something very much like this to their prisoners to get them to talk. That scene stuck in my mind all these years for some reason. Anyway, I've adapted it somewhat, but I'm sure the end result will be just as painful for you. You see, it works like this. I set this fuse on fire and it slowly burns around your leg, working its way to the 2 M80s by your scrotum. They explode, effectively blowing your testes off. What do you think? Do you like it so far? Eventually, you'll die after going into shock. I'm not sure how long you'll last, but I suspect you'll be in agony the whole time. Needless to say, the days of you messing other people's wives are over. John, is this absolutely necessary? George asked. Yes, George. I'm afraid it is. Otherwise, he'll never stop. It all ends now, I said. My God, John, what are you? The jerk asked, scared. I looked at him hard. I'm the monster you created, dear old dad. What do you think of that? I asked rhetorically. Please don't do this, the jerk begged. I remember asking you the same thing right before you cut off my puppy's head. That didn't stop you, though, did it? Karma is real, old man, and it's now time for you to pay the piper. Juan and Mike came into the stateroom and took in the carnage around them. Juan was holding what looked like a reinforced suitcase. "What's that, Juan?" George asked. Juan came over to us and opened the case. The interior markings indicated it was the ADM device George told us about, except there was a numerical display counting down to 0. At the moment, it displayed 1450 and was counting down. I looked at the jerk, who was now giving me an evil grin. "That's right. It's an atomic demolition munition, fully armed, and it was booby-trapped to start counting down the second it was opened without the magic key. In less than 15 minutes, we're all going to be vaporized, and there's not a goddamn thing you or anyone else can do to stop it. Not even I can stop it. I was hoping it would be used on one of your Marine bases overseas, but I guess that's not going to happen now, is it? Guess the old man got you?" "Put that under Jerk's chair," I told Juan, lighting the fuse on the old man's leg. I looked at Judy as the jerk screamed in pain from the fuse burning his skin. "In about 2 minutes, those M80s will go off. In less than 15, that nuclear device goes off. Don't worry, dear wife, you won't feel a thing. The fireball from the nuke will vaporize this entire boat instantly." I motioned for George and Juan to step away from the chairs and instructed Juan to get the other operatives to the helicopter. I looked at George and Mike. "Get to the chopper and get it fired up. As soon as those M80s go off, I'm out of here. We need to be as far away as possible before that goes off," I said, pointing to the nuclear device counting down under Judy and the jerk. They nodded their heads and left. I stood by the door and watched as the fuse continued to burn a spiral brand into the jerk's leg. Judy was trying to get her chair away from the jerk and the nuclear device under him, in vain. Eventually, the fuse burned to the M80s as the jerk's eyes grew wide in anticipation. The devices detonated, blowing his genitalia into Kingdom Come, causing the jerk to scream in agony. Judy looked at me, her eyes wide in horror. "John, please, I'm sorry. Please help me. Don't kill me," she begged through her tears. I smiled and gave her a half-hearted goodbye salute. "Enjoy hell, cheating woman," I said, walking out. Judy screamed as I walked away. The helicopter was warmed up and ready by the time I got there. I looked back briefly, opened the door, and climbed on board. Securing myself in the seat, I looked to ensure everyone was ready, then gave George the signal to take off. He revved up the engine and we took off, putting the Northern Express as far behind us as we could. "How far do we have to go to escape EMP?" I asked George. "Not sure. I'm hoping that's a very low-yield device. If it is, we may not have to deal with much, if any, significant EMP," he said. George addressed everyone in the chopper. "When that device goes off, you'll see a brilliant flash of light. Do not, I repeat, do not look at the flash. Keep your eyes closed until the flash diminishes. Got it?" We all answered in the affirmative. "And brace yourselves for the shock wave. Hopefully, we'll be far enough away that it won't cause any damage." I looked at my watch and saw we had less than a minute left. I took a quick glance back and could just barely make out the boat. I turned away and closed my eyes just as the nuclear device detonated. A few seconds later, the chopper was buffeted by what was probably the shock wave. There wasn't any damage, but I could tell George struggled to keep the bird flying when the wave hit. After he got the helicopter back under control, I looked back. Other than a plume of smoke and a light mushroom cloud, there was no evidence of the boat's existence. "Do you think we should go look for wreckage or bodies?" I asked George. He shook his head. "Not necessary. That boat was what, 85 or 90 feet long? You could have fit 3 of those boats end to end in that fireball, and they'd all have been vaporized. There's nothing left," he said. "Think I did the right thing with Judy?" I asked. "She gave you no choice. You heard her. You saw her hold a gun on you. Even if you saved her, you'd never be able to trust her. Get over her, mate. She didn't deserve you anyway," he said. "So where to?" he asked. "Sinclair Tower. As soon as we can get any cell signal, I have to make a couple of calls." "How are you holding up?" George asked me after a while. I'm okay. You? He nodded his head. Good to go. Mike, how are you holding up? He asked. Mike gave 2 thumbs up. I'm okay. A little shaken, but I'm good. Never had to deal with a nuke before, he said. Everyone else okay? George asked. The 3 federal operatives also gave a thumbs up, but appeared shaken a bit. Eventually, we were close enough to land that I was able to get a cell signal. I called my mother. John, she asked, are you okay? Yeah, Mom, I'm fine. I need you to go to Sinclair Tower right now. I'll be there soon. Don't talk to anyone until I get there, okay? Okay, son. Tell me it's over. Is Judy okay? She asked. It's over. Judy didn't make it. She made a bad choice. Oh, and just so you know, the jerk suffered. I have video, I said. Good. Sorry about Judy, though. I'll see you soon. The next call was to Judy's parents. Fred? John, I said after he answered. Judy didn't make it. I'm sorry. She made a very bad choice. Okay, John. Thanks for letting us know, he said through his tears. Call number 3 went to the chairman of the board of Sinclair Industries, headquartered at Sinclair Tower. After speaking to his receptionist, I was put through to his office. John, are you okay? Asked Bill de Havilland, the chairman of the board and a friend of the late Milton Sinclair. Yes, Bill, I'm fine. Milton Sinclair, however, isn't, I said. What happened? He asked. He made a bad choice and got burned by the nuclear device he was ready to hand over to Middle Eastern terrorists. I have video of his complete confession, made minutes before the device went off. My mother and I are on our way there now. I suspect the feds are crawling through everyone right now, am I right? Yes, John. There's a lot of very concerned people here, and I'm one of them, he said. Truth time, Bill. Did you know about any of this? I asked. I knew about his hatred of you and his dalliance with your wife. Other than that, I knew nothing else, he said. Good. At least you'll avoid Gitmo. Make sure the feds are there when I arrive. I'll explain everything. I ended the call and pulled out my reinforced field laptop. I grabbed the SIM card from my GoPro setup and began editing the video, sending selected cuts to various recipients. Some of the videos went to as many media outlets as I could think of. Milton Sinclair was well thought of by many in the New York media circles. His confession would go a long way to destroying the public image he spent years establishing. I sent a video of Judy's confession to her parents with a note expressing my condolences. I did love her at one time, and I also loved her parents. I believed that, good or bad, they deserved to know what their daughter had turned into. The final video went to my mother. That video showed the jerk's last minutes before the nuclear detonation. She wanted to see him suffer and would get her wish. We made it to Sinclair Tower, where we were met by federal agents and executives who worked with the jerk. We spent several hours explaining his plot to sell weapons to America's enemies and turn my wife into a slave for a Middle Eastern sheikh. Testimony from the 3 undercover operatives helped tremendously. The feds weren't too happy to learn that someone in the State Department sanctioned the actions regarding Judy, and I was assured the person or persons responsible would be fired and placed on charges. I was relieved to learn that the feds weren't going to take any action against me, but I was warned against taking similar measures in the future. The media glossed over the jerk's death and the small nuclear detonation, calling it a rare meteor strike. They did, however, mention his questionable past and allegations of child abuse and dalliance with terrorists. Whatever. He would never harass or terrorize anyone else ever again. I attended Judy's memorial service out of respect for her parents. I had her rings cleaned and handed them to Fred. Something to remember her by, I said. He thanked me and shook my hand. We hugged, cried, and moved on with our lives, but I still keep in touch with them. Mom never held a memorial service for the jerk. She threw a party instead, calling it her Independence Day, wrapping it all up with a bonfire fueled with all the portraits of the jerk she could find in the house and in Sinclair Tower. She had her marriage bed tossed on the fire for good measure. I decided to remain in the Corps and planned to retire after giving a full 30 years. I kept in touch with Mike and George, and we're all still good friends. I met and eventually married Meg, who also happened to be a Marine. Her specialty was explosive ordnance disposal, but she had also served as a drill instructor at Parris Island. Like me, she intended to serve a full 30 years. She asked me once what happened to Judy. "Did you kick her to the curb or what?" she asked. "Nah, I nuked her back. Seriously." Meg never asked again. My mother was named CEO of Sinclair Industries and given the Jerk's position on the board. There was a huge shakeup in the company as she rooted out those loyal to the bastard. She finally watched the video of the Jerk getting his testes blown off. To her credit, she watched the whole thing without flinching. She smiled upon hearing him call me son. "I knew he would finally warm up to you. He just needed to know that you would stand up for yourself, I guess." "I'd say he warmed up," I told her. "Somewhere around 100 million degrees Celsius." And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.